A new era dawns to fill the void. An unfamiliar path with a pulse of its own.
3, 2, 1.
Final Encounter Cast. Interesting conflicts, not conflicts of interest.
Typical corporate bullshit.
With your hosts, Nate, Robbie, Chris, Nika, and Callie. FinalEncounterCast.com.
Ready? Get set? Go!
What's up? Welcome to Final Encounter Cast. Thanks for joining us. Twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio. Starting at 1 p.m. on Sundays. You can join us live. Become a part of the show. Give us a call. Final Encounter Cast on Skype. 810-207-1764. That's how you become a part of the program. Glad to have you along today, as it is our last show for 2017.
Yay.
Let's close the book on this shit show of a year.
And start the next shittier year.
I mean,
yeah. Remember back in 2016 when like the biggest thing people were concerned about was celebrities dying?
I mean, that was kind of the thing that everyone was talking about, but
now we're worried about which celebrities are sexually harassing people.
Or if we're all going to live to see 2019.
Yeah, that nuclear war is on the way.
That is for debate right now.
For all those people like, oh, I really wish that Fallout was real.
Let's complain about it.
These are also the people that like own unironic bug-out bags. Like, they're like...
Wait, what's a bug-out bag?
A bug-out bag is a bag that you keep in case shit goes down, and it's not a terrible. Listen, it's not a terrible
like
idea.
a zombie apocalypse kit up in your attic.
Exactly. Like it's not like it's not a bad idea to have like maybe a first aid kit and a sleeping bag and some
shotgun,
essential
samurai sword,
essential things ready to go in case something happens. But
multiple.
These people that, have entire packs with machetes and handguns, and I mean, that is a little bit... Did you ever watch the show Doomsday Preppers?
You know, you're saying that now, but when the doomsday comes, you're going to be the one being snacked on. But, well, all right, second to last, because I'm pretty sure you can run faster than Juxta.
I mean, we've heard for 100 years that the shit is going down, and it does to various small degrees, but... Never big enough to make the whole machine come to a grinding fucking halt.
Not to mention, if it all goes down slow enough, we'll kind of adapt to it, won't we?
I mean, kind of. I mean, before...
do we really want that?
Before we know it, we're exchanging bottle caps for blowjobs, and it is Fallout.
You know, I wouldn't mind that. I can get bottle caps real easy.
Yeah, but then so can everyone else, so that just drives the price of bottle caps way down.
Damn it. Economics.
Can't escape it.
Got me again.
So anyway, thanks for joining us. Twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio. All of these shows are getting confused in my brain.
That's all right. One day we're going to mash them all into one.
Well, but that's the thing, is that this show, we are on a slow countdown towards episode 100, where this show will conclude. We'll be done with Final Encounter.
That will be the final encounter.
That's the official word.
That is the official word, and at that point, this show will, depending on what my preparedness is at that point.
That's really what it comes down to.
We will either take a break from doing the show for a couple of weeks, or we will go straight into, having it be the Let's Be Real podcast.
Let's be real, yo.
That's right.
Totally real.
Can we put a yo at the end of
Never
it?
fake.
So,
can we change our names on that show?
I mean, I guess.
Do you want to be Kristoff?
No.
He wants to go back to Juxta.
I want to go to Captain Golden Chewy. And then we can have Xerox and whatever your internet name was back in the AOL days.
What was it? Madrox?
Monoxide's clone is what it ended up.
Yeah, I ended up finding my currently active AIM, and it was Yuna the Summoner 2.
Oh my god.
Vomit.
Nika, you are the worst. You're the worst.
Let's be
real. That is the worst.
Let's be real.
It's not worse than Angel Kitten.
If these were our names for that show, nobody would take us seriously.
Yuna the Summoner 2. 2? Is it TOO or the number 2?
The number 2.
Oh my god!
Because somebody already had Una the
Of
Summoner.
course they did. Because that's the most unoriginal shit in the world.
Yeah, but dude, I was in like 10th grade. Come on.
Still though, come on, you should have known better. You should have known. You should have been able to. You should have been able to peer into the future and know one day I'm going to be on a radio show and someone is going to make fun of me for this.
But Yuna's a cool character, so
no, she's not. No, she's not. No.
Yeah, she is.
No,
she's a very
absolutely
strong-willed character.
Is she?
Look,
she's a woman and her tits aren't even big.
Look, in X2, she showed a lot more cleavage, but as Jux just said, she did not have that big a tit, so it didn't
not
really
referring
do
to
anything with her.
X2. I'm referring to her bravery in 10.
No,
and her strength of character.
I'm sorry. She was a religious zealot that was trying to become a martyr. She was not brave. She was brainwashed by a religion that she ended up not believing, that no one ended up believing.
Waka.
Well, yeah, he was
mean
bigger.
Other people aren't still religious nuts.
Right. She was like a forced sacrifice martyr.
Stupid,
guys,
and they killed it.
Come on. Hitler killed way more people than Charles Manson did, so is he really a serial killer? Was he really?
What?
Hitler killed more people than Manson, right?
Yeah.
So was Manson really that bad?
What are you? How are you making this logical jump?
Because she's saying that
I don't understand what the fuck you're talking about.
Waka was a bigger zealot than Yuna, so it's okay for Yuna to be one.
I didn't say that, and she wasn't. She didn't know any better, and she changed her ways when she realized that she was wrong.
So did Waka.
It took Waka really a long time.
It's a part of the fundamental character arc of all of those characters. I'm just
that they realized that religion was dumb.
But she's not a strong character.
She was. She knew that she was going to die in the end, and she still went through with everything that she was doing to save her people.
If someone from the time
she had a choice, she could have backed out.
If someone from the time that they're born is basically told like you have been born to die, that's brainwashing.
She didn't have to do it. There was a lot of summoners that were trying to do this. She could have easily just said, nah, fuck it.
She was in the shadow of her father. To her, she felt like this is something she has to do.
That's her legacy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a strong character.
Yes, she was.
And the only reason she eventually breaks out of that is because she had to rely on the strength of Tidus to break her free.
That's right.
Who wasn't even real. Spoilers.
She was sort of real.
So she had to rely on her imaginary friend.
Anyway,
that's a real imaginary friend, though.
That she banged in a lake.
Did she just masturbate with herself then?
Pretty much, yeah.
She's just underwater.
Kamari was just watching her masturbate in the water.
No, he really existed, but he didn't.
But he was imaginary.
He was not her imaginary friend. He was the Faith's imaginary friend.
Are we?
The Faith dreamed him into existence.
Okay.
I mean,
does this take all of the sequels in Dissidia into account too?
Okay, X2 doesn't exist. Okay. So.
I mean, it does. I have a copy of it.
I do too.
I mean, digitally, it came with the remake.
Okay, that's
10,
fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Anyway, if you want to give us a call and give us your opinion on whether or not Yuna was flicking her bean in the
oh my god,
in the Macalania Woods.
That's right. You can give us a call. Final Encountercast on Skype 810-207-1764. And we encourage that you do. We'll take your call. We've got a lot to talk about today, a lot going on in the news, and we're also going to be talking a little bit about net neutrality. So if you've got some feels about the FCC repealing net neutrality this week, then line up your calls. Final Encountercast on Skype, 810-207-1764. Before we get into the news here, by the way, I do want to mention that Final Encountercast as a show is available and will be still available after the show becomes Let's Be Real. So all of these shows will get their own feed. Let's Be Real will get its own feed, but the first, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 shows will start on the Final Encountercast feed, and then all of it will switch over to lbrnetwork.com, which is where we're going to run the Let's Be Real podcast out of. So we've still got some work that's going into that, but lbrnetwork.com is not just going to be the home for the Let's Be Real podcast. That's actually going to be the home for all things that are produced by us, the Let's Be Real network. So you if you're a fan of of more than just Final Encountercast or the Let's Be Real podcast, or if you're more than a fan of Checkpoint Radio or Limit Break Radio, then definitely LBR Network is going to be the place for you. So we are still working very hard on that. By the way, we're going to be taking the next 2 weeks off from both Final Encountercast and Limit Break Radio, just so you guys know. So
go fuck yourselves.
It's
because
holiday.
Both
it's
fall
not
on
holidays.
Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve are both Sundays.
They can go fuck themselves if they want, regardless of that.
That's
but
true.
that doesn't have any bearing on us doing a show.
Yeah,
Right.
Go flick your Unibeam.
Jesus. Anyway, so yeah, we are going to be off the next 2 weeks. We will probably have some sort of like vodcast or something.
Or streams or something. Something will be happening somewhere.
I cannot do it this time because I'm actually having to work those days at my real
Well, you
job.
can set them up.
So you
but
don't
if I'm at
actually
work,
get it off.
if I'm at work when the time is to start, then I can't press the button.
I'll start it. I mean, because I'll be a little bit more around here, but I can't sit
Alone?
Yeah, kind
Fucking
of.
yourself.
There you go.
Yeah, I'll be
Flicking your Unibeam.
yeah, that's right. Be reenacting the Macalania Woods scene myself for like 3 weeks.
He's going to be Maka Hislania.
You're gonna come back if you.
Fritz will be watching you like Kamari.
I'm just gonna die in blue.
Horn. No horn.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine trying to dye Fritz blue? The amount of scratches, my arms would be shredded.
All
by the
you
end
have
of
to
it.
do is fill up, because cosplayers do it by just like filling up like a bath with like dye. Fill the bath up, then just drop him in it and run.
So you come back and half of my apartment is also blue.
Macalania Woods.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh my God.
Oh boy. Wow.
2 birds, 1 stone.
There
Right?
you
there you go.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, so yeah, we're going to be taking the next couple of weeks off. But if you want something to watch, we'll have something here on Sundays. So, anyway, so yeah, you're going to be if you can select the clips, I'll run them.
Can we just do full episodes instead? That was so much easier.
I mean,
Yeah.
can you find a collection of good episodes to run?
I mean, do
Everything?
we have any good episodes?
Oh.
I mean, do we?
Yeah, do we?
That's a question.
Maybe we'll just set it up so we play episodes for the entire 2 weeks straight.
There we go.
Just never stop.
And also people can't stream for that whole time period.
Because once it starts, you can't stop it.
You can stop it, but you can't like change the order or
okay.
like play from a stopped point. So.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we'll have something here. Plus, I'm still trying to figure out what my Extra Life plans are.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, you don't
me
have your
too.
date yet?
No, I don't.
I mean, I'm pretty sure, don't the pages for donations close like in a couple weeks? So
Yeah, I might be planning for this for next year. So
Oh.
I thought Extra Life kind of keeps itself open for.
yeah, this year's will close and then next year's will open.
Yeah.
Next year's opens really early, but
So it is technically open like mostly year round, but it'll
There
just
you
be
go.
the next year.
Yeah. So we'll figure it out.
We'll get a head start.
Yeah, that's it.
Fair enough.
I mean, 7,500 is. I mean, I'm pretty comfortable. Putting. I mean, we beat the rest of the Final Fantasy 14 creators.
Club. Yeah.
Whatever that was. What was their total?
Ugh.
oh gosh, I don't have it right now.
I just want to measure my dick against theirs.
Measure our dicks against theirs.
I mean, if you want to
Our
put it
collective
like that.
dicks.
Yeah, our collective dicks.
Sure.
I can try to find it.
Oh, okay, good. This will be really good for the podcast.
All right, we'll just tap dance.
Well, let's
bro.
just vamp.
Well,
Come
no,
on,
like
vamp.
I'll let you know when I get. Okay, here it is. I found it.
Oh, good.
Their total was $5,000, $5,029.
Ooh, blew them out of the water.
Yeah.
And that was a collective effort of like 5 different shows.
But really, it was just Denmo.
I think it was mostly Denmo.
Yeah, just Denmo. And that shitheads.
The shitheads?
Shit podcast.
Oh.
It was. I think it was more
Oh.
than that. Yeah, it was Denmo, Gamer Escape, She Heals, I Tank,
I was
Music
gonna
Pass
say-
14, Phoenix Down Radio, Maelstrom Radio,
But
The Crucible, A Stage Reborn.
is that Denmo did all the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would
well,
think,
Gamer
I would think
Escape was
Gamer
half
Escape
of
did.
what
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is that Gamer Escape usually does a pretty good effort. 'Cause
Gamer Escape and She
they-
Heals, I Tank were really close.
Well,
to
you
each
got to
other.
remember though that Gamer Escape learned how to do it from us because they were involved with our first year efforts. So they
We
just
showed 'em
basically, yeah,
You showed them how.
yeah.
You're welcome.
We're their senpai.
It's cute. It's cute to see them being able to, nip at our heels. Not really. Anyway, so I guess if you want to get in on that and you want to donate, extra-life.org/team/limit-break-radio. I guess, let's talk about what's going on in the news.
I'm here to do the news tonight.
And that's the way the news goes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt this program to bring you important news.
Here's a story that's out of this world.
Steam has removed the game You Must Be 18 or Older to Enter from Steam, citing pornographic content as the cause. The game puts the player in the role of an adolescent in the 90s, discovering porn online for the first time.
Oh my God, this sounds like an amazing premise for a game.
It uses ASCII symbols to depict the quote-unquote porn in a semi-not-safe-for-work way. Developer James Cox said, quote, "If people want games to be taken seriously, then it's time to start thinking seriously about them."
Okay, so first of all, I don't think that Steam should have removed this. Because when you see what the pornographic images are, it's like, dude, come on. The second thing is that this is a really brilliant premise, and it kind of falls in line. There's a lot of other games that are like this, where it's more of like, you are the player, like you are the character, and you're fake hacking something, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of games that are like this. I can't remember any of the names of them, but
they're out there and they exist.
There are fake hacking, like, it looks like you're bringing up a DOS prompt, but you're not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
And not MUDs either, but it was like this is a genre of game,
right? Yeah.
Right. So, but I think that that's really clever, and I think that they could have taken this to the next logical extreme, where there were like levels where you're like trying to unscramble cable. Like scrambled cable packages. Like, come on, this could have been really hilarious. And then Steam came in and decided, we're going to shit all over it.
Yeah, I think the one thing that kind of upsets me about it is his whole, idea that, if we want games to be taken seriously, start thinking about them seriously. I get that. I'm real into that too. But I feel like it's always just like these small, tiny developers with really niche games that try to push this. And when no one really cares whether or not they're stomped out, the message just kind of floats away.
Yeah.
Speaking of things Steam is removing, they've also begun purging images of Pepe the Frog from the platform.
Feels bad, man.
With the ongoing legal battle over the character, Steam has decided it best not touch the character. That said, they have made offers to game developers on the platforms to allow them to keep images of the character so long as they assume the legal liability for doing so.
So this is really interesting because, of course, yes, Pepe the Frog has kind of been co-opted by the alt-right.
By the Nazis.
And
which means we need to beat the Nazis back and take back our Pepe the Frog.
Well, the thing is that there is a guy who made Pepe, right? Like, there is a creator, and he's not so down with the whole alt-right thing.
He killed off Pepe.
Exactly. And I find it really fascinating that now Steam has kind of like actively inserted themselves into this conversation by saying, okay, yeah, we're going to take it off of our platform. And what is important to note about that is that the original creator of Pepe is exercising their right to claim their work and want it to be used in a way that they deem appropriate or fit. And that's a complicated legal battle, especially right now in 2017 with the internet the way that it is. Although the internet may be changing quite drastically here.
Sad face.
In the next couple of years, which we'll talk about today. And again, if you feel any kind of way you want to sound off, you want to ask questions about net neutrality, because not everyone even understands the conversation around net neutrality. Our lines are open. Final Encountercast on Skype, 810-207-1764. Kookie is standing by to take your calls.
Thank you, Kookie.
Yes.
The recent EA fiasco seems to have made an impression on Square Enix, of all people. Their CEO, Yasuke Matsuda, has acknowledged that microtrans practices that work in mobile games aren't generally suited to console games or full $60 titles.
No.
Well, we shouldn't expect to see DLC stories go anywhere. Based on his comments, it might be safe to say that loot boxes won't be showing up in console SE titles. What do you guys think?
Okay.
Good.
Definitely loot boxes and AAA titles.
No, okay. So first of all,
this is a good thing.
This is a good thing. I've been waiting for Square Enix to kind of sound off on this because they have been eerily silent since the Battlefront 2 debacle went
because
down.
They have done it in the past, because wasn't Deus Ex Mankind Divided was full of them, what wasn't it?
Microtransactions, but not loot boxes.
Gotcha.
Okay, loot boxes have never really wormed their way in, although I do feel like there were several ways that Square Enix has tested the waters for whether or not their audience would accept loot boxes. And I think now with this big backlash on Battlefront 2 that, you know, like, the waters have been much less murky and much more clear, and especially when it comes to signaling to these large development places that listen, this is not something that you're going to be able to put into your games without a fight.
Well, because also remember too that because of the gambling laws in Japan, we've always kind of figured that those are one of the reasons why Square Enix has kind of sat on the fence about it.
Not just Square Enix, but Nintendo. Because if you notice, every Japanese game developer has been much more hesitant and much more conservative with the way that they approach microtransactions.
And if now the idea of putting in loot boxes into your game isn't an absolute 100% guaranteed slam dunk in Western markets, why would you risk it?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree, and I think that this is smart on the on the part of Square Enix. That this does do a little bit of base pandering, which they could honestly use at this point.
Quite a bit of.
Like this obviously signals to a gaming audience that, like, listen, we're not going to do. We're going to have less predatory practices. That's not to say that Square Enix doesn't have any predatory practices across the board, but my whole tinfoil hat theory of, Square Enix is going to be moving towards putting in, microtransactions or loot boxes into something like FF14, that seems to hold significantly less water with this statement.
A little bit tempered now, are you?
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, though, is that without this statement, it was open to debate.
Yeah.
Like, it was up for debate. And I do think that this was smart on their part, that they needed to get out ahead of it. And, this is good for them. This will be good for them.
Eidos Montreal is shifting their focus more towards the online experience. According to studio head David Onfonze, the Deus Ex Mankind Divided developer is hiring on new staff, including a lead multiplayer programmer, and is reworking their Dawn engine to aid in a beefed-up multiplayer experience.
I mean,
isn't that game dead? Wasn't that game kind of dead on arrival because of the microtrans?
Yeah, it didn't sell as well. I don't know. Well, but they're not saying that they're going to expand Deus Ex,
right,
as a franchise to be multiplayer. They're just saying that Eidos Montreal, who is the same studio that did Deus Ex, is going to be focusing on more multiplayer titles. That's it. That's all.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, you're right. I read that wrong. I thought they were trying to throw in multiplayer with Deus Ex.
No, that's not at all what that story is saying.
No, you're right. You're right. I just misinterpreted.
But the thing is I don't know how good this studio is at doing multiplayer, mostly because I just don't know. Nika, did you buy Deus Ex Mankind Divided?
I might have. I know Surin has played all of them.
Okay. Because
I don't even know if I might own it.
Like, I don't even know if it has an online mode.
I don't believe that it does.
So if it why I don't understand why Square Enix thinks that Eidos Montreal is better suited to make online titles or multiplayer titles.
Well, because they just hired new staff, including a lead multiplayer programmer. So now they're introducing a new division in this company, so now they're going to be able to make
I think this
game.
Basically signals that Deus Ex as a franchise is shelved.
Oh, that's a good question. Didn't they do the Assassin's Creed multiplayer? That sounds familiar.
Eidos Montreal?
Because Assassin's Creed is Ubisoft.
Yeah. What?
Did they not? But their multiplayer was purely Ubisoft. They didn't contract anyone else for it.
That I wouldn't be able to tell you.
Yeah.
Because I'm not I mean, Assassin's Creed spun off into bullshit for so long that I stopped.
Yeah, and that
paying
multiplayer
attention.
was fun for a little while. I mean, at least I thought it was.
Are you talking about the multiplayer specific game or a multiplayer?
The one
function?
that came with like Assassin's Creed 3 had like an online.
Oh, what?
multiplayer.
Literally all you did was basically just walk through crowds and hope that you killed the other people before they killed you.
Man, that was so cool.
I mean, it was fun for like a couple hours.
Okay, a couple hours. Awesome.
Yeah,
Nika.
and then I stopped playing it.
I don't know.
The only good thing that I can kind of take out of this is that, I mean, it's nice to see that maybe some of their studios are trying different things and going in new directions as opposed to just churning out the same bullshit over and over and over again.
Well, again, I just think that any hardcore Deus Ex fans are going to be disappointed because I think that this implies that they're shelving Deus Ex.
At least for a while.
As a franchise.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
No.
In the earliest days of this show, we talked about a weird sim called Mount Your Friends, in which you play a muscular guy with a physics-enabled wang trying to climb over other guys. Well, good news. A sequel has been announced. Mount Your Friends 3D, A Hard Man is Good to Climb, will be making its way to Steam in 2018.
I'm coming! I'm coming!
Wait, so games like this are okay on Steam, but not like an 18-year-old discovers porn for the first time game.
I don't know what to tell you, Nika. All I know is that this probably ended up on here because Callie does our news.
Yeah, so he doesn't have to talk about it, I guess. Or
no.
Oh, wait, no, he probably does want to talk about it, doesn't he?
He probably does want to talk about it, absolutely. He's like, all right, wang climbing? Definitely going to make him talk about this. Wang climbing, guys. Juxta, have you played this game? This seems like your kind of game.
And I don't have any friends to climb. Will you let me climb you?
No.
Get on the Hydra's back?
No.
Maybe.
I'm moving on.
Well, hold on.
What?
How do you make a sequel to this?
Just do the same shit, but in a different location with different characters.
And it's 3D now, apparently.
And it's 3D.
We got to try this.
You can try it all you want. I don't think this is a multiplayer exclusive game.
I thought it says you get to climb your friends.
And some sad news, fresh off his win for Trending Gamer at the Video Game Awards, popular streamer Dr. Disrespect has announced he's going to be taking some time away from streaming to focus on family. He admitted in a video to being unfaithful to his wife and is going to step away from performing for a bit to focus on healing that. Ouch. And this came just, as the story said, just days after winning Trending Gamer. You guys think that?
Sucks because that's probably so much more exposure for him. Like people who hadn't heard of him now know who he is.
Possibly. I mean, he was already like really, really big. I think he was easily in the top 10
I've barely heard of him, but I don't really follow other.
Right. But I mean, like as far as top streamers on Twitch go, I think that he is one of the biggest full stop on Twitch. But you're right. That would have given him a lot more exposure.
Yeah, because like now I know who he is, and I really didn't before, and I feel like now he's going to lose any possible momentum that he.
Well, I don't know, because I mean, he's dealing with this quote unquote in the right way instead of trying to hide it or do whatever it is. Is it going to affect him? It absolutely will. However, as you said, this also does give him more exposure, so this might also draw more people to check him out, quote unquote. And so long as they have no moral problem towards it, like maybe they're of the opinion, I just watch him for gaming anyway. No such thing as bad exposure.
Well, what is this one?
Dr. Disrespect is stepping away because of the unfaithfulness.
I think this is odd.
Odd?
Why?
Odd. Yeah, in 2017, like that someone would. I don't like because I feel like shit.
Who cares about cheating anymore?
Who fucking cares about that shit?
Okay. Wait. You're saying that he cheated on his wife, and instead of trying to fix the relationship, just be saying, "Fuck it, I'm going to stay streaming and fuck my relationship."
Yeah, I'm going to keep doing my goddamn job. Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like that if that was part of what was taking away from his relationship with his wife, it's something that he would need to.
Yeah, he is married to her, by the way.
No. How old is he?
Dr. Disrespect.
Who cares?
Yeah. Anyone know? Any idea?
He looked like
in my head, no.
I mean, from looking at him in the thing, he looked like he was at least 30-something.
I mean, it could be
because that's what I would guess is that he's probably like in his late 20s, early 30s.
Well, the other thing you have to consider too is, first of all right, so yes, they're married, right? Now, if she found out and gave him an ultimatum, like we need to fix this in
35.
Yeah, so
he is 35.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, older than all of us. So, I mean, if she gave him an ultimatum, you need to fix this, he might want to step away for a while, because if she decides to divorce him, I mean, what he does as Dr. Disrespect is a business, right?
Right.
So, in fact, we covered a story a while ago on a couple that divorced in, I think
and she
the
tried to
wife
take half of the...
might have actually gotten the stream domain or the stream title or
right.
something
I
like
remember
that.
that
Yeah,
now.
so it could be that. I don't know. I think it is weird, the fact that it comes out right after the Trending Gamer. Like,
that's just weird timing.
Did it happen because of it? Like, did he sleep with someone and then, hey, I'm famous now or whatever, or super famous? Or is he feeling guilty? Did someone uncover something somewhere? I think just overall the whole thing is...
Anti-Net... I don't know, whatever the fuck your name is in the chat, said the mistress was most likely threatening to expose him. That's possible as well.
I think that's probably the most probable solution.
I mean, here's like, I don't know. The reason why I say that it's like, why is this a big deal, is because I sort of feel like, dude, I hear about more people who have open relationships and open marriages because they find the idea of monogamy complete and utter bullshit, as opposed to, letting like a piece of infidelity or an indiscretion get in the way of a strong partnership. And,
that's fair.
And that seems and that's less. And I'm not saying that needs to be the norm for everyone. And it explains a little bit. He's older. He's 35, which means that he doesn't quite have that. Because that's a much more millennial sort of attitude
definitely a millennial
towards relationships. Yeah, but I sort of feel like the more relationships I hear about these days, the more they're like, yeah, but I mean, just like fucking other people doesn't matter. It's just sex.
Right. And I think that what it probably comes down to is, like you said, since they're older, had they believed in that, then you're right. This probably wouldn't have made the news, because there's nothing to threaten him with there or anything to feel guilty about.
Well, and I mean, to my own personal story, we were not married, but we spent 10 years together, but I had a relationship that had to implode and sort of, root itself out of my life before I could continue, something like Limit Break Radio or come back to do this project too. So, like, I feel bad for Dr. Disrespect, but I also think that it may be a mistake to stop his momentum.
That might be fair. Okay, I get that.
I mean, because, we never got to the heights that Disrespect is at. And I think that that's maybe a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Well, I mean, plus when
PUBG is not, and the thing is that he does the exact same thing that we did with Limit Break Radio, and knowingly the second time, but attaching yourself to a specific game like that can get really, really tough, because that window is a very, very tight window, and jumping to another game or another property doesn't always work. It doesn't always translate. So hopefully he doesn't stay away from it too long. But honestly, dude, if I were him, and obviously I don't know his wife, I don't know their relationship, but I'd go with the opportunity. And I mean,
personally, like, for the people who are, us plebs who have like normal jobs, like, you can't really take time away because you're unfaithful. If you do that, then you don't get paid, and now you're out of a job and you're out of a house and you're homeless.
Right. Yeah. That's sort of like, dude, that's sort of like when my 10-year relationship was imploding, I was still working part-time.
Yeah.
And it was like, there was one day where I called in and I was like, it's a mental health day. I need to take a breather. If I had taken 5 of them, like 10 of them,
just like a week.
If I had taken a week off, I would have been fired.
Yeah.
Straight up, I would have been fired. And maybe Disrespect feels like he's got a different relationship with his audience than everyone else does. But here's the thing, is that PewDiePie thought he had a different relationship with his audience too. I'm sure that even our own friends Joe and Mr. Happy thought that they had different relationships with their audience than they do, and they're finding out that, like, oh, well, there are some people who only are interested in us if we're talking about FF14. which we already knew. We knew that from the first time we did Limit Break Radio, where we tried to branch out into doing other things, and we found out very quickly. In fact, Refresh was this learning lesson for me.
Well, I mean, even if you
that
look
people
at our...
only wanted to listen to me talking about Final Fantasy for some reason.
Well, I mean, even if you look at the viewer count between FEC and LBR, there's a lot of people who watch both, but there is also a drop-off.
It's a large drop-off.
Yeah. Big time. And you know, you can't ignore that. Like, especially, and I do, like, eventually we're going to have to talk about the growing problem with Twitch, because there is a growing problem with Twitch. And it's not with the site or the way that the site manages its business, it's with the talent and the streamers. And this will kind of actually roll a little bit into the net neutrality discussion that we're about to have. But there is this sort of impending bubble burst that's going to happen around Twitch, where people who were planning on, you know, having the same income year over year are finding that their income is shrinking because they're doing the same things. And this is, you know, we saw the same thing around a lot of YouTube creators too, where they were like, oh, well, and they blamed it on the algorithm. And I'm sure that Twitch streamers, it's the same way that Twitch streamers blame the democratization of the things like the subscribe button and the bits and all of these things. They're watching their bottom line shrink, and instead of going, well, maybe the problem is with me, they're going, well, Twitch is ruining it because now everyone can subscribe to every channel that they want, so it hurts my sub count. Man, whine. But the thing is that, you know, like, that really is incumbent on you as a creative person to have to address. Dude, shit changes about industry all the time, especially if you're a creative person. You've got to change and adapt to shit all the time, whether it's new technology, whether it's new distribution methods, whatever the fuck it is.
Whether it's
incumbent
net neutrality.
on you.
Yeah.
It's incumbent on you to be able to figure that out. And I'm sorry, but I have way less sympathy for content creators than I do audience members, right? That's why that's why I didn't know how to feel about the Patreon thing, is because I recognized how much of an increased burden that put on the audience members that were going to go out and support things that they love. But at the same time, the complaints and the rallying that I heard from fellow Patreon members was just the same bullshit that YouTube creators threw out there when they were complaining about algorithms. It's just the same entitled nonsense. And the thing is that, you know, we're always prepared as an organization, as a group of creative people, to move off of what makes us feel comfortable. If the Patreon thing had really exploded and people were really not willing to use Patreon, we would have moved off of it, and we would have found another way to continue doing what we're doing.
Adapt.
You know what I mean? And so, you know, there's a lot of that going around right now where people are blaming the mediums that they're choosing, and well, first of all, they're locking themselves down to a medium, whether it be YouTube, whether it be Twitch, whatever it is, and then not understanding what their value or what their relationship to the medium actually is, or what kind of power they have to be able to decide to be a part of it or just take your money and walk away.
It's very important as a content creator to ask yourself, if X were to go, could I still do what I do? And if the answer is no, I can't, you need to figure out how to fill that hole.
That's true. But anyway, to get back to the point, I hope Dr. Disrespect figures this shit out quickly. You know, I do understand. See, and the fact that he's married, you're right. That does add a very complicated loop into the chain, because yeah, if she's going to try to come after the channel or take the channel down, because here's the thing, in my 10-year relationship, if I had married her, that's the first thing that she would have come after,
because she knows what it means to you.
Is the Limit Break Radio brand name. That's the first thing that she would have come after, is my you know, my ownership of that, or my partial ownership of that. You know what I mean? Like,
that's a scary thought. That is a super scary thought.
Dude, and listen, let that be a lesson to any of those unmarried out there.
Don't get married.
Just fucking know who you're marrying. Like, you know, that's why, dude, that's why I end up looking at relationships like, oh, we've been together for 6 months and now we're going to get married. No. Like, be together for like 10 years first.
Yeah, I was with him for like 6 years before we got married.
Yeah.
Although technically in Michigan, like after 7 years, aren't you legally considered
common law? It's common law.
Yeah. Thank you.
What?
It's a common law marriage. So you get some of the tax benefits, I believe, of a marriage without any of the legal liability.
Oh.
And I think if the dude leaves the woman, then she has like some right to take some of his stuff anyway after 7 years.
Oh, really?
Not like I don't think it's 50%, but I think she does have some legal bounds to come after you.
Interesting.
Chris has looked into this.
I mean, I have had one of those relationships and broke up right at 6 years.
Oh.
To be fair, you probably didn't have a whole lot for her to take at that point anyway.
I was homeless, so no.
In the ongoing saga of Star...
I see, when my 10-year relationship ended, I had nothing. I had just rented a house that I couldn't afford. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, literally, I had, if she even came back at me now and was like, try to get 50% of what I had at the time that we broke up. What, you want half of a cat? What do you want? What exactly do you want here? Do you want me to pay? Do you want the $75 that was half of what we had paid for the cat? Like, what the fuck actually do you want? I don't have it.
But you got stuff now.
I mean, I do now, but she can't come after me now. She can't come after what I have now. We broke up back in, what was that, 2011 or 12?
It was a while ago.
It was a while ago.
Thank God.
Yeah. So... Way to put that out there on a podcast. Now she's going to hear this and be like, I should consult a lawyer.
Do you think she listens?
Kind of, probably.
Hey, listen, I wouldn't put it past her.
No, dude, but that's the thing. We're like semi-cool. Like, we talk every once in a while, and it's not the worst shit. Like, it's not awful. That's the crazy part, is that when we do talk, because the one and only place that I remained friends with her was on Steam.
Okay.
You guys know how often I'm on Steam. It's like never. Yeah. So it's like very rarely that I ever am in a situation where I have to talk with her. And I have to say the last couple of conversations that I had with her were remarkably pleasant.
More power to you, because I wouldn't be able to do.
How do you have a pleasant conversation on Steam? Because if I'm on Steam, I'm playing a game. I don't want to talk to people when I'm playing a game.
Oh, if I'm on Steam, I've forgotten that it's up. I mean, or I'm playing. But if I'm on, generally, if I'm on Steam, I've forgotten that it's up.
It's usually that it's up. Yeah, I'll definitely agree to that. Yeah. In the ongoing saga of Star Citizen's development, Crytek is now suing developer Cloud Imperium Games for breach of contract.
This game is never coming out.
They allege that while CIG said they've switched off the CryEngine 3 onto Amazon's Lumberyard, recent marketing material shows a line of code that indicate that they're still using CryEngine 3. Further complicating things is that Lumberyard is in itself a fork of CryEngine.
Oh, Jesus.
Both sides have responded saying they're in the right, so prepare for this lawsuit to get long, expensive, and ugly.
Oh, man.
Wow.
The dude who kickstarted Star Citizen should just take all that money and go to a different country and just not say a word.
And just live there.
Just don't do anything. Go off the internet and just...
I wonder. Okay, so if Lumberyard is a fork off of CryEngine, how does that? Oh, that's not pretty. That's not pretty at all.
No.
I don't even want to begin to try and think of how that works.
Oh, dude, this is gonna be a fucking nightmare unless they figure out how to settle it out of court.
Oh my gosh,
this is gonna be an absolute ungodly nightmare, which will hold up Star Citizen's development to
for
the point
even longer.
For no. This.
You think this will kill it?
If this goes as long as it could potentially go, shit, man, yeah. It could, I mean, are you still going to be interested in Star Citizen in 2020?
I don't know. When we can be actual Star Citizens? Yeah, no, probably not. Adventure Time is being adapted into an adventure game for the PlayStation 4. Outright Games is handling the project, promising an original story voiced by the show's cast. Adventure Time Pirates of the Enchiridion is set to launch... Enchiridion.
Jesus.
Wow, you pronounced that terrible.
Is set to launch in spring 2018, and it's worth noting the show is also slated to wrap up for good in 2018 as well.
This idiot doesn't know what the Enchiridion is.
He's so uncultured.
How have you never opened up a D&D book in your life?
What a fucking pleb.
What is it, Chris?
Huh?
What is it?
What is what?
The Enchiridion.
The Enchiridion?
Yeah.
Okay, it's a book.
It is a book.
Ha! Suck on
About
that.
what?
What?
What's it a book about?
Magic stuff.
He's not wrong.
He got that from D&D though, didn't he?
No, I mean,
Okay.
in the context of the show, it's pretty much the same thing.
Any freaking book that is important enough to have a game title written after it is clearly
You hate
magical.
this show.
Why do you hate this show?
I watched like the first like 1 or 2 episodes. And I'm like, I can't watch this, and I stopped.
What?
Yeah.
See, I've at least watched a few seasons.
I don't like it
why?
either. I
Why?
couldn't get
You're
into
fucking
it.
wrong, but I'm going to tell you why you're wrong.
Why don't you just tell me why I'm wrong already?
No, but I want to hear why you hated it. The first season is rough. Any animated show in its first season needs to be given a couple of breaks. Any animated show. There are some that are irredeemable, yes, but any animated show needs to be given at least a few breaks in its first season.
I just couldn't watch it after those little puffy cloud things and the way they were talking. It was just irritating, grating on me. And I'm like,
I thought the animation was weird and the characters were like, oh, so random. And like, it felt like something I would have liked when I was in like 8th or 9th grade, but now I just can't get into it.
now we're just too mature because we're mature adults.
Well, because it's
With
supposed
children.
to, it's aimed at kids who are in 8th or 9th grade.
Right. And so I just
So
like,
why
but
do
I
you
know
like
a
it?
lot of people who are my age that enjoy it. And I can't get into it.
Because if you keep watching long enough, there's actually an overarching plot line that is
I'm
really
sure there
good.
is, but I don't doubt you. I
What's
just
the
couldn't get
plot
into it.
line?
Well, it has a lot to do with the main character and his relationship to his family and his dad. The entire world has a lot of mystery that's kind of built in contextually. You don't know if it's our world after an apocalypse. That's sort of like implied.
There's one character arc with the Ice King that is probably one of the saddest things I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of feels. I mean, it's one of the best voice acted shows. Initially, one of the reasons that I loved it was because Maria Bamford did like all of the ancillary characters on that show.
Wow, really?
Like almost all of them.
Wow.
She did a lot of additional voices. Like any female voice or like any voice that's kind of like up here, that was hers. And every time I heard Maria Bamford, I was like, boom, that's Maria Bamford. And if you get one comic on your show that I love, I'll stick with it. You know, like I stuck with I watched way more of Uncle Grandpa than I should have. And I fucking hated Uncle Grandpa.
I hate the premise of that show.
But here's the thing though. Is that one of the Workaholics guys does a voice for Pizza Steve. And I didn't realize it until one day I heard him like scream or something, and I thought it was Workaholics. And I came out and it was Uncle Grandpa, and I was like, nuh-uh.
Isn't that so weird when like you recognize a voice actor just because of like 1 second worth of something that they do?
Yes. And after that, I gave it much more of a chance. And it was never a good, believe me, it was never a good show. But it was that was sort of the same hook in that I had for Adventure Time.
Yeah.
Adventure Time. And I ended up not only that, but the voice of Jake the dog is
Joe DiMaggio, right?
John DiMaggio.
John DiMaggio,
yeah,
sorry. Who is a baseball player, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Joe DiMaggio is a baseball player.
My bad.
Yeah, John DiMaggio, which
Bender, Waka.
Also Marcus Phoenix from Gears of War.
Literally everything.
Yeah, he's done a lot, man. He's done a lot.
Matt Damon.
What?
I don't know. Were you just saying names? Because I tuned out after a while.
You should go back and watch Adventure Time, especially now that you have a child.
Can I just like skip season 1 and go to season 2?
Probably. Yeah, because I mean, there may be callbacks that you miss from season 1. I would do it in order. Season 1's not that long.
I couldn't get through it. I tried.
Even just put it on as like background while you're Hearthstoning.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that you don't need to pay attention to every fucking moment of it, but you need to.
If you can play 3 card games at once, you can play 1 while watching Adventure Time.
If I was able to figure out why the Clone Wars was good, you can get through Adventure Time. Because I did not watch every moment of the Clone Wars, but I had it on in the background enough for me to be able to pay attention to what the fuck was going on, so that when they made callbacks to what happened 2 seasons ago, I knew what the fuck they were talking about. That's all. You don't need to pay attention to it, but I would definitely watch everything because it is contextual. So,
I'll try it. It's in my backlog. Should I watch it before or after Stranger Things?
After.
Okay.
Stranger Things first.
Stranger Things is definitely
I also wanted to watch...
How much anime is in your backlog?
0.
Good.
Are you lying? Are you lying?
Oh, Jesus. Jeez, he's got the hammer.
I mean, technically, I want to watch that one last episode of MMO Junkie Recovery something.
Okay.
But
one last episode
But
is
I'm probably
different.
never going to watch it because...
One last episode is different.
I can't be asked to
This is a great finger smashing hammer, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's that other one? Like, not Scott Pilgrim, but it's like this. They're like emeralds or like special like diamonds and. Like,
Steven Universe.
That's the one. I was trying to get into that, and I just.
Steven Universe is tougher.
Yeah.
It's something I want to watch. It's on my backlog, but I just can never.
Yeah, that's something that I wasn't able to get into either, but I can still appreciate like all the good stuff that it does.
I actually got into Steven Universe. That one.
I heard it's really, really good.
It is.
I heard it has a lot of feels in that one too, and it's very inclusive, right?
And I really like the show and the concept and all that, but I just couldn't actually keep watching it. So I just fell off for some reason.
I couldn't get into either, but.
So this is another one where they are building a much bigger plot arc throughout the whole thing.
Right.
The first season is not building that plot arc. The first season, if you want to frame it, is we're proving ourselves to Cartoon Network.
Right.
Second season, they kind of got the governor taken off, and they were able to do a lot more adventurous stuff. And then third season got really good, and it's particularly popular in like the LGBTQ communities because of how it depicts the relationships in that show, which is to say that there are no rules for like, oh, two girls like each other. You know what I mean? Like it breaks down gender in a really interesting way. Which also I just saw this the other day. I don't know if I was scrolling through Facebook or what it was, but apparently that kid show Doc McStuffins just did an episode that depicted a family with two moms, and it was like it wasn't the point of the episode, right?
Just happened to be
the
there.
point of the episode was to prepare kids for earthquake safety, but that was just how they chose to depict them, and
That's
they got
awesome.
Ellen DeGeneres and Wanda Sykes to do the voices.
Nice.
Great choices for the voices too.
Microsoft is trying to capitalize on its current exclusivity with PUBG, bundling the game in with the Xbox One X over the holidays. Every console move between December 17th and the 31st will include the game for free.
Okay, but yeah, how does it run?
I heard that PUBG and Xbox runs like shit.
That's what I heard too.
Oh no.
I heard that it's supposedly supposed to be capped at 30 frames a second.
I also heard that as well.
I heard that you're lucky if you get 20 frames a second.
I've also heard that the load-in for textures is like not good at all.
Well, speaking of PUBG on the One X, Microsoft has reported that within the first 48 hours of the game launch on the console, over 1 million players have parachuted down. They've also promised continued enhancement and optimizations, as well as the new map Miramar coming soon.
You know, I actually did play a match on Miramar the other day.
What'd you think? Did you get any kills?
I did.
How many?
One.
Oh.
Wow.
Wait,
It was a headshot through the window of a car.
was the car moving?
It was.
No.
It was.
Was it coming straight at you?
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
How'd
Right?
you feel? How'd you feel?
I'm not gonna lie.
Wait, was it one shot, one kill?
No.
Oh, okay.
Fuck no. Are you out of your mind? Although I did not have a scope. So that it was iron sight.
Okay.
So that I was impressed.
35 shots, one kill?
It wasn't that bad because I was limited on ammo.
Yeah.
But
Kill's a kill.
But yeah, kill's a kill.
It is.
No, I really like the map, man. I like the vaulting too. I like a lot. Like that was my first time playing on the PTR in ever. I've never played any of the PTR. Yeah,
okay.
Well, because it's on PTR.
Right. No, you're right.
And I've got to say, I'm very impressed with a lot of the upgrades that they've made. I'm really looking forward to them pushing that and making that public. But I think it's gonna. I mean, it's set for a very strong release. I mean, even down to the character selection screen, they've changed stuff. Yeah. I mean, I was very impressed, man.
Well, Microsoft better get that optimization on Xbox sorted pretty quickly then, if they want it to be a selling point.
This is Microsoft we're talking about here.
Twitch is set to begin streaming their first professional sport as they'll test the waters with the NBA G League. The NBA's official minor league will broadcast 6 games a week, bringing interactive features to the channel to allow players to see team and player stats. While minor league basketball isn't likely to get too many people excited, it's a first step into something that could be major.
Nah, I see what you did there.
I don't know why this bothers me so much. Like,
why does it bother you?
Like, this is actual, like, regular basketball, right? Nothing to do with video gaming.
Basketball is a game, Nika.
Like, there's so many other platforms for actual sports, and that I liked that video gaming had its own platform, and now it just feels like.
Except,
this is a video game, NBA 2K. What was that? Oh my! Did you guys hear the judgment in her voice just then?
But this isn't
I don't think
it is. This isn't an actual video game we're talking about.
No, this is not we're not talking about a 2K. This
isn't?
Yes.
Did you just not pay attention to any of the words you spoke out loud?
I thought that it was talking about the game still.
Yeah, it's literally basketball.
It's literally minor league basketball.
Like actual basketball.
Minor league NBA basketball.
Like with real people.
Yes.
This
is not a 2K.
Like
this is not a 2K minor
because there's not enough like Fox News sports places for people to watch sports. No, it has to be on Twitch now.
Yeah, okay, that is weird.
Okay, so let's
unpack this.
Then yes, let's talk about it. Why does that seem weird?
I feel like video games has fought so hard to get it to be more mainstream, to feel like an actual sport, to become an esport, to have its own platform, and now sports are once again taking over it.
Taking over, no. What this is, Nika, is the fact that, what is that stat? Men between the ages of 18 and 25 are way, way, way more likely to be watching esports than they are to be watching traditional sports. What this is traditional sports trying to get some of that viewership back.
Well, not only that, but I mean, like, I think Twitch, while it started as a platform for game streaming, I don't think that it is exclusively that anymore.
Especially with the IRL category.
And nor has real life whatever channel on Twitch also bothers me. But like, where you're just like, oh, just stream yourself living. Like, no, we have stupid reality shows for that. Like, why do we need Twitch for that? I don't know. It all bothers me. I really liked that gaming had its own platform that a lot of people knew about. It had its foot in the door in this way, and now everything else is now taking over Twitch.
But you're thinking too narrowly about it, Nika, because Twitch as a brand, again, this was spun out of Justin TV, and it's run by Amazon, okay? So this isn't our own, like, it's not like our own thing, man. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like,
well, Twitch used to be, though.
Twitch is not a platform for gamers because that's what it's set out to be. Twitch as a platform started life as Justin TV, and then they noticed, hey, there's a lot of people who are taking their video game and streaming that and putting their webcam on. Why don't and that's what people are really watching. Yeah. Why don't we take it and turn it into its own concept, which became Twitch? Okay, so it never started as this concept of like, let's give gamers a space. No, they just saw where the data was and was like, well, let's see.
Let's ship all these nerd gamers over here, and we can keep our cool people doing whatever they do.
But they're not keeping it separate. They're not saying, okay, well, we're going to use Justin TV for everything else.
That's because Justin TV is no longer a thing.
Well, I know, but I mean, they're not separating it anymore
Twitch as a brand got bought out by Amazon in, what was that, 2013, 14, somewhere around there?
Was it that long ago?
It wasn't that long ago.
Well, I mean, it wasn't, but that... it seems.
So when Amazon bought it out, I mean, they had shuttered Justin TV long before that. But if your original goal was to just be a platform for streaming video, then who gives a shit whether or not it was on the backs of gamers or it was on the backs of people who were streaming,
cooking shows,
whatever it is.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Streaming video games just happens to be the biggest and easiest thing to stream. Nika, let me ask you this, right? Because people who stream, they do it because they connect with the audience. It's not just about the game, it's about them, right? So let's say one night after you're done playing a game, you just want to socialize and talk with your viewers for a while.
Right.
You're not playing a game anymore. What category do you put yourself under if you're not actually playing a game?
That's hard
exactly.
to say.
IRL. That's the one.
Stuff like IRL and eating came about as a response to like, hey, we're using this platform in the way that you told us to use it, which is streaming video games. And I've found a full-time job opportunity doing it. How can I take what would normally be my downtime and still continue to make a living?
Yeah, the people who are using IRL and who are using creative are still gamers, but they do other things besides just gaming. They draw, they do podcasts, they stuff their face with wine.
They make cosplay.
Yeah, but I feel like that's all part of the nerd brand. Like,
then what's the problem? Because that's what's being done in the IRL and creative categories.
Well, not just that, but there are other entities that are looking at Twitch as a potential medium for bringing their content on a live platform.
Bob Ross.
Well, Bob Ross, Yu-Gi-Oh, all of that shit. You know, Shout Factory, which does the Mystery Science Theater 3000 stuff, they maintain a permanent channel where you can go watch whatever they're presenting at that time. And so I think that Twitch as a brand is not necessarily a game streaming brand, but I think that this has now evolved away from that to become a youth media focused brand. That's where I see Twitch being. Because if Twitch made the jump to doing a TV channel, like let's say Twitch decided to do like legit Twitch TV, right? And they buy up a cable channel like G4 did back in the day, and now they're going to take their top talent and try to make them television presenters, right? Ooh. Okay, that's a totally feasible thing for Twitch to do. And Twitch, I think that kind of movement is really attractive to Twitch, because that's how you end up bringing along your Buffalo Wild Wings of the worlds. That's how you end up bringing in your Rocket Mortgages, your, you know, these big, large companies, your Geicos, these big, large companies that are spending money with gaming associated and tangentially related brands, but are not spending money fundamentally on the platform. Because what happens when we run a 2-minute ad? You get 3 Totino's Pizza Rolls commercials back to back
in a row,
and you know, a promo for a game that just came out. So, you know what I mean? Like, I think that Twitch as a platform could use much more large brands being interested in their advertising. The problem is that these large brands have pulled back from digital advertising because of the YouTube adpocalypse, because they don't want their content up against, you know, dick and fart jokes, which kind of understand, you know what I mean? Like, or maybe not dick and fart jokes, because everyone can appreciate dick and fart jokes.
Right,
they don't want it. They don't want it to be next to a Sieg Heiling Nazi.
That's fair,
right?
Super fair.
So they are looking at platforms in terms of like, well, what kind of content control or quality control can we be assured of, which is why bigger brands don't come to Twitch. So you've got now a platform that is made for live streaming, not necessarily games, but a wider scope of streaming and a wider scope of media. Why does Twitch have to be so fundamentally game focused? Why couldn't you have maybe a much more younger focused morning talk show that has cameras like we do, and throw their show into talk shows? They're not exclusively talking about video games, but maybe for the better part of 4 hours, they glance on video games once or twice. Do they not deserve to have a spot at the table? And now, especially with all the tools that Twitch gives you to be able to market your channel specifically, dude, how many morning shows do you know that have weird little animated faces for their morning hosts?
Winky face.
You know what I mean? Or like Dave and Chuck the Freak is a perfect example. They're a local Detroit show if you don't know them, but they've got, you know, their 2 hosts, Dave Hunter and Chuck the Freak, drawn up as little animated emojis that they use on a lot of their marketing. You mean to tell me that if someone had the opportunities to subscribe to that channel for $4.99 a month and they would get access to those emojis that they can use in other channels, that they wouldn't? Dave and Chuck the Freak is a massive morning show and a massive brand in Detroit. the minute that they came to something like this, like Twitch, they would find a huge fucking response. And why not? Anyone?
No, because there isn't a reason. We have to look, we've already begun to outgrow this idea of just gamer as this very specific stereotype. Everyone games nowadays, therefore everyone should have a place on Twitch, whether it is gamer exclusive or not.
And I think the NBA testing the waters with this with minor league basketball is a really interesting way to do it.
Good tie-in. Speaking of, NBA 2K League is approaching. It has opened the door to new and in many ways insane ways of advertising. While a sponsor putting their logo on a team's jersey is nothing new, how about on a virtual jersey? It's been announced that the stadiums and jerseys in NBA 2K18 will be sponsored, allowing the companies that sponsor the 2K League teams to place their logo on the virtual team's jerseys as well.
That's probably fair.
You know, I never would have really thought of this. I would have just thought whatever the jerseys look like, make them look like that in the game.
Yeah, so like they can pay money to sponsor the jerseys in real life, but that doesn't get transferred over unless they pay more money to also sponsor them in the game.
So let me.
I think it's smart.
It is, but
draw a little bit of a parallel, right? Because generally what the sponsorship looks like is on the court is, okay, Nike actually manufactures the jerseys and they manufacture them for the team for free. That's the form of sponsorship that it comes in, right? So in let's say if they're sponsoring the Bulls, they make all the Bulls jerseys, right? And they've all got the little Nike swoosh on top of the normal team colors and everything else, right? You can't sell a jersey sponsorship unless it's just the team, right? Or I'm sorry, unless it's the company making the jersey. That's the only way. There are actually strict regulations about that because they don't want NBA players to start going out and looking like NASCAR cars.
That's fair. That's so fair.
Okay.
Why?
So, but digitally, those are not the same. Right? Digitally, no one makes the fucking jerseys. So if Buffalo Wild Wings wanted to have a small logo on a jersey, they can support the team for which that jersey is. Now, again, because in esports it's different, you don't have the same talent playing.
I was just about to ask.
Yep. See, now
Jack in the Box is on the Dallas Fuels.
Exactly. So what we're talking about is sponsorship of the player being shown on the actual jersey itself, which I think is a brilliant fucking idea. That's a brilliant idea, and it adds clear value to doing a sponsorship through, officially through that league too.
Okay, so now I have a question.
Sure.
So does the sponsorship go straight to whoever makes NBA 2K?
Yeah, that money.
EA.
Well,
EA. So now the question...
I think that depends.
So now
we don't know enough about what's going on here to be able to say one way or another.
Let's say that McDonald's wants to sponsor a team on NBA 2K, but does that team in real life get any money on that? Because let's say that team...
No, the team probably does not.
Then let's say the team in real life doesn't want McDonald's plastered all over their uniforms on NBA 2K the player.
Then you know what? They acquiesced that right when they signed away the rights to the team for the game. I guarantee you 2K has already thought about that, and I guarantee you that there's no one who retained that right. You don't. 2K gets control over it, and then that way the team does what they normally do, but the sponsorship, no sponsor is going to come and say, hey, I want to sponsor whoever is playing the Celtics in the NBA 2K League. They're going to come in and say, I want to sponsor X or Y. They want to sponsor a person. Whichever team they're picking and playing for is kind of irrelevant. That's sort of like the skin that they're playing.
And to his original question, I wouldn't be surprised if somewhere down the line that they see some type of percentage from that, because I'm sure that obviously EA probably pays something to...
I'm sure it's minimal, though.
Yeah.
It's rolled into the cost of licensing.
Right, and that makes sense. Yeah.
Professional poker player Fader Holes has invested in Team Envy and the Dallas Fuel.
Fader Holes.
That's not how it's pronounced.
Fader Holes.
He's won nearly $27 million over the past few years in major poker tournaments and has cited a strong passion for esports, even wearing a Team Envy jersey at the final table of a World Series of Poker high roller tournament.
That's what's up.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Chose a, kind of a shitty team.
But the thing is, though, is that like these are the dudes who eventually are going to be investing in teams. You know what I mean? Like, I hope that his interest in it extends far enough to want to, inject a little bit of capital into it. Not that there's, a shortage of people who are looking to inject capital into the esports scene.
No.
But, like, I think more fans getting involved is a good thing because, while outside investment is a good thing, with every outside investment also comes outside expectations.
That's very true.
And you want to have someone who knows the scene organically as a fan, because you want that authenticity. Not everyone is going to be able to understand that.
I just think maybe he should have invested in the Outlaws instead because the field are going to hashtag burnout. A group of psychologists at the University of Montreal ran an experiment last year to determine the effects of video gaming on the brains of older patients. They divided the patients into 3 groups, a control group. One group was given piano lessons for half an hour, 5 days a week, and the last played Super Mario 64 in the same frequency. The platforming group showed significant increases in the gray matter of the hippocampus, an important step in combating cognitive decline.
You want to know why?
Huh.
Well, it's because there's problem solving in dynamic situations that are involved with something like playing Mario.
But there's also a lot of what's what I'm looking for, like when learning how to play piano and having to be able to understand the movement of the keys and the relation of the music to the keys. I feel like there's also a lot to be said for learning piano.
But at some point with piano, it just becomes memorization.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and especially if they have no previous skill at piano going in.
I mean, that's true.
If you're learning how to play Mary Had a Little Lamb, you're actually not using that much of your brain. That's just repetition. What it would be like somebody, learning piano and then applying it in dynamic and different ways. You know what I mean? Like, you learn the basics of Mario, but then you have to apply that in massively different ways as you continue.
You have to decide when to jump, when to wall, whatever, instead of it just putting a symbol for you.
Playing piano, you also then learn like harmonies, and you learn how to play with 2 hands at the same time, which is a different skill, and then also being able to pick up things by ear
But only after years and years and years of practice. Like, right? Like, if they're studying the effects in a short term.
30 minutes, 5 days a week isn't that long.
30 minutes, exactly. Yeah. Especially if they have no previous skill and if they're only doing it for maybe like 6 months. Yeah, I can definitely see how Mario would have that effect.
In the short term, at least.
Probably over the better.
I would say the long term would.
Well, no, yes, Mario would also in the long term, but to your point,
I don't know that it would.
I don't
know
think
that.
so?
No, because at some point Mario just becomes repetition.
All right. Well, what about video games?
That's the difference.
And then to Nika's point, on a longer scale, the piano playing might also do that, but video gaming is doing it quicker.
Well, I think piano playing would, yes. If let's take the experiment and take it to its logical extreme, right? Let's say the experiment is done over the course of 2 years. By the end of the 2 years, you're going to see a lot different brain growth in someone who's playing piano because now they're being able to play it dynamically. They're able to creatively apply their own melodies, apply their own methods, apply what they've learned in a different way. As opposed to someone in the better part of 2 years only playing one game, Mario.
Yes.
In those 2 years,
you'd see a drop off.
Right. There's a cap that it will hit, and then at some point it becomes memorization, repetition,
speed running,
and and incredibly dull and boring.
Yep.
So I think,
Well, then you can compare playing a single song to playing a single video game. If you're learning how to play the piano, then in response, you should also be learning how to play video games.
That's fair.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's fair. That's totally fair.
Interesting. I'll be interested to see if they come up with anything else or take this further than just this one little thing. But that's it for the news today. Back to you, Nate.
All right. Well, thanks, Robbie.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Doesn't sound like he does.
Let's talk about net neutrality. We've only got about 35 minutes left in the show. So
where do we start?
Well, first of all, if anyone wants to have a question answered about net neutrality, because there's a lot of misinformation going around about it at the moment.
Particularly if there's anyone in the audience that isn't super clear on it, or they have any questions specifically about it, because I'm sure that there are a lot of educated people in our chat.
Final Encountercast on Skype, 810-207-1764 is the number to call. We've got Kooky standing by, waiting to take your calls and forward them along to us. We'd love to hear from you because we've been talking about this for a long time.
Yep.
Long time. I think going back to the 11 days, I was writing and talking about net neutrality.
Really?
Yeah. I want to say my first piece that I wrote on it was probably in 08 or 09. That's how long I've been plugged into this debate and discussion. But a lot of people, I think where we start mostly is where I'm seeing a lot of the argument lie that, well, okay, so first of all, net neutrality was never law. It was one of the great oversights of the Obama administration, that instead of making it official policy of the FCC, which would have been way harder to overturn and undo, they made it the active policy of the FCC to enforce net neutrality. Now, what is net neutrality? Net neutrality at its most strictest definition is whether you, whether I have Comcast, whether you have Verizon, whether you have AT&T, whether Robbie has Time Warner, that when we all connect to the internet, that we receive the same connection between destinations, regardless of whatever service that we're paying for. One of the things that happened before net neutrality became official policy of the FCC were things like preferential treatment of data on a network. So when AT&T limited FaceTime usage on the iPhone in order to try to encourage iPhone users to buy a more expensive data package, that was something that was kind of not struck down, but that was a practice that had to go away under threat of enforcement from the FCC. Now, it's important to mention that the FCC, at least to my knowledge, has never in its history actually dragged somebody into court over net neutrality. Comcast has been dragged into court, not by the FCC, but by private lawsuits over the way that they manage their network, over access to things like peer-to-peer software, torrents, the way that they used to throttle what they saw as most likely torrent downloading practices. They were taken by private individuals to court over this. And the threat was always, if we get the FCC involved, then you're going to have to pay fines. And that's what a lot of what Comcast's maneuvering over the last, 10, 15 years has been about. So net neutrality is not law. No law has been undone. It is basically just, it was an active policy. So that's the first thing, is that, the idea that a law was undone by the FCC commissioner is, or that he's done anything that he could lose his position over, is incorrect. So let's get that out of the way. The second thing that I want to address is this idea that, after the first of the year or this week, that internet service companies can start giving you a la carte packages for what websites you can use or where your data can go. That is not likely, because what that is that's just an argument by people who believe in net neutrality to say this is the worst case scenario. This is what could end up happening if net neutrality falls. And that is the worst case scenario, because, and I'm not saying that, ISPs wouldn't do it They absolutely would do it. And given the ability and public sentiment, you know, if we say nothing about it, then they will end up taking it.
And we've been saying quite a bit about it. That's one of the reasons that people are so upset right now is the overwhelming support not to end it. And what's the dumb guy's name? Ajit Pai?
Ajit Kai or whatever.
Yeah. It's basically like, oh, no. It's just they're overreacting. There's not really that many.
Well,
meanwhile,
but he's not wrong. People are overreacting. People are overreacting and obscuring the point.
But he's also not making the point of like, oh, you can still do all this shit without net neutrality. Yeah, of course you can. You just have to pay an arm and a leg to do it. And he's kind of not also presenting that.
That's also not correct because my bill has not changed for my...
Well, not yet, because it hasn't fully gone through yet.
Yeah, it still has to be voted on by Congress.
Oh, there's a lot that still has to to go down.
This fight isn't over, by the way.
But that's the notion that this falls and shit changes overnight is not true.
No, absolutely.
That net neutrality falls and suddenly we're going to have that kind of exact a la carte packaging for our internet services is incorrect. That is very unlikely to happen because the backlash that a lot of these services would get would be extreme. And it creates this does create market forces, okay? Because what we've identified for a long time is that in terms of your choice for high-speed internet, there's like one cable company that you have to choose from. It's like cable or AT&T, DSL, which sucks. You know what I mean? Like there's very little choice when it comes to internet service providers, which is a big complaint, about...
there's always like two that service your area, and those are your only choices. Like, right, I don't even have Comcast in my area, so even if I wanted Comcast, I couldn't have it because it's not where I am.
But that's not a function of net neutrality. No. Like, and having net neutrality doesn't address that very basic problem, that there is lack of competition in many areas when it comes to internet service providing. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that the way that it's set up right now is set up to very much benefit cable companies. Cable companies don't, they do technically provide the fastest service, but there is an opportunity for innovation that comes out of something like this. Because when you give companies the ability to be predatory and those that do become predatory, oftentimes they fall out of the market. They get creamed in the market because people don't want to have, they have to pay that fucking much.
Especially if there's another company that decides to, act with people's best interest in heart and not be predatory.
Exactly.
Do you think that that's going to happen?
Given the way that technology and bandwidth is evolving, it could.
Mm-hmm.
It could because there, if Congress acts and votes on net neutrality and votes it down, then there are going to be a lot of these people who right now are working on setting up, DIY networks and DIY internet access that are suddenly going to become very serious about trying to compete with these companies and will find a much more willing audience. A lot of times, why don't we switch? We all of us bitch about Comcast constantly. Why do we not switch off? Well, first of all, there isn't much. There's not much of a reason to, because I could switch to another internet service provider, a smaller internet service provider, and I could have a better connection, but I could also have a worse connection.
Or a different set of problems altogether.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of that prevents us from even moving, from moving our shit. But if it's suddenly like a moral choice and a moral decision, I might be more inclined to stick it out with a third party, a smaller mom and pop sort of organization. So I don't think that it's necessarily all bad, but here's where net neutrality really does protect a lot of people, in that limit break radio probably would not have been possible if net neutrality wasn't a thing. And a lot of times, see, the thing is that people think that the buck is going to get passed off onto the consumers. And I think that's really unlikely. Again,
the consumers will find somewhere else if they feel they're getting taken advantage of.
Maybe just because of the way that the online culture is right now. But I mean, there are countries that don't have net neutrality where that is the norm for the consumer to pay for it, like New Zealand and places like that.
See, I think where the buck is going to get passed is going to be onto entrepreneurs like us, like streamers, like YouTube creators, because those are the people who are getting money out of their ability to upload and continue to upload and create their work. That's where the real lockdown is going to come. Is if we get a la carte packages, it's not going to be for your download speed. It's definitely going to be for your upload speed.
Yep. If you want people to have access to your new product, you have to pay extra. So who that ends up hampering, like he said, if we were to try to do Limit Break Radio right now, or the next guy to create, whatever the next Discord is, right?
Right.
Discord might not have been possible without net neutrality because someone like Skype, whoever they're owned by, could have decided, I don't like that idea, so let's quash what they're going to do unless they want to pay us extra money or even rope us in on the deal.
Well, I don't think that I don't think that those that are pushing for net neutrality, they're not going to be coming to us, the consumer. They probably wouldn't even come to us as Limit Break Radio to force us to pay more. Our servers are run through a company called DreamHost. That's who they would come and hit up for money. Because that's who's serving out
to us eventually.
Well, maybe.
Well, they might, because you really think DreamHost would then be able to pay for every single content creator using that? No, they would then have to filter costs down to their users.
Exactly. Yes, it would filter down to us. But the way that, the government could pass it off is that, listen, we're going to the people who are running large server farms and networks and stuff like that. So yeah, the cost would be pushed off onto us, based off of what DreamHost decides to do if the government comes to them and starts saying, listen, you're going to need to give us more money to be able to run this much bandwidth, right? So, individuals, I think, because there's so much entrepreneurship and so many individuals who are out there that, are stabbing at a Twitch channel and stabbing at, making YouTube channels, that's going to weed them out of the market. These guys that sit around with, 5, 10, 0 viewers, like those guys would be pushed out because, however much. I'm not saying that none of it would end up trickling down to the consumer. Some of it would. But again, this would be mostly upload speed. So 90% of your consumer base is going to feel unaffected by it. They can still go to Twitch and watch Twitch. It's when they want to become the entrepreneur, they want to become the Twitch streamer, they want to become the YouTube artist, that then the cost becomes apparent, because it's either going to take half a day to upload a fucking video to YouTube, your Twitch streams are going to look like shit, or you pay the money to get proper access to both of those things. Do you guys remember when we went to college, we went to CMU, they had the thing called the penalty box where if you downloaded too much.
Yep. 4 gigabytes.
Oh, damn, yeah.
Yep.
4 gigs for a week.
I forgot about that.
That's what, and the way that they limited your internet access after you got put into the penalty box is going to be much the same that we're going to be seeing here, I think. I think we're going to start seeing upload speeds of under half a megabit unless you pay for higher tier internet. That's I think going to be the very first blow that's struck. And again, it would be easy to identify if net neutrality fell and then suddenly these cable companies came out with a la carte packages.
Oh, you'd see it. Like it's such a day and night change.
People would fucking riot.
Yeah, well,
people would fucking riot.
It doesn't benefit them to do that change so quickly. No way.
But that's why, dude. That's why it's silly to have the argument based off of an image like that or an idea like that.
I mean,
because it's not fucking realistic. There's no cable company that's has the fucking balls to do that.
That's fair, but the way that people just act nowadays is in extremes. Like, that's the only way you can get things across to people.
No, it's not.
But so basically, when people freak out because they hear net neutrality is gone and they're like, okay, now every single company is going to do this. But what in reality is what it's saying is that they can do this and there will be no repercussions. However, it could come from the people. So the thing is that the choice will be up to those service providers. So like if they don't charge people, that's totally their choice, right? Net neutrality is not saying that they have to. Correct.
All net neutrality said was that if you are paying for access to the internet, that you get the same speeds between Netflix and Amazon and Twitch.
Facebook.
Exactly. That the ISP couldn't come in and knowingly limit access to any of those websites. So what we're going to see is a lot more of what Comcast was doing behind the scenes before it was taken to court. It's going to throttle bandwidth that it thinks is illegitimate or that it doesn't want on its network. That's where it's going to start. It's going to be a lot of behind the scenes bullshit. But again, if they came out with an a la carte package, that would be easy to identify. It would be super easy to go, oh, there it is. There's the bullshit. That's what, dropping net neutrality did. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be a lot more subtle. It's going to be a lot more, it's going to be a lot slower. It is going to push off the cost to you as a consumer in the end in a lot of ways. But organizations like Limit Break Radio are going to get hit up for that long before you do. And really, the people who are at risk of being hit up the most or being ripped off the most are places like Amazon and Netflix and Google, because the bandwidth and the amount of traffic that any of those sites pulls down is unfathomable to people.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
Netflix has already actually been a target of Comcast.
Yes,
at some point.
Well, because Comcast doesn't just distribute the content, they also create it as well. So, it's like I have been unable to get access to the HBO Go app on Comcast on any Sony products. I can do it on my Xbox 360, no problem.
Funny.
But just on Sony. See, but it's little shit like that that's going to keep happening, little inconveniences like that that are going to keep happening to people, and that's what net neutrality is really designed to protect. It is designed to protect the consumer, and the fact that the FCC came out and was just like, nah, let's just forget this. That fucking Ajit Pai guy is the worst.
He's clearly bought out.
Oh, 110%.
Without a doubt.
110%.
The fact that he has the audacity, though, to like make little videos spitting in our face on top of it. Oh, my God.
Especially with the Harlem Shake guy. Dude, that guy is such a piece of shit, too.
That video actually got taken down because they didn't have permission to use the Harlem Shake.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Funny how that works, huh?
Yeah. All right. Let's go to our phone lines. We've had a caller hanging on for a second. Shane, what's going on, Shane?
Oh. How's it going, guys?
How you doing, man?
I just wanted to point out two things. One, before the vote actually happened, I think it was like 2 or 3 days before, a news article broke where the FCC and the Federal Trade Commission were going to just basically cover each other's asses after the vote happened. Like, they already knew what the vote was going to be. All the protests didn't matter. So... Yep. Well, let's cover our asses after the fact.
That to be totally honest with you, Shane, that is among one of the reasons why I have not been as vocal about it as I have in years past, is because I already kind of knew. Like, when you have the thing that you've got to understand about the FCC is that they are not really answerable to a whole lot of people. They can just kind of do whatever the fuck they want, whenever the fuck they want to. And it doesn't matter how much public comment they receive on something, they're going to act the way that either the person who put them in there told them to act or is continuing to tell them to act. Basically, they don't have to be responsible to the public for anything. Now, that doesn't prevent the FCC from caving to public pressure. We saw that a lot in the late 90s, especially with the things like the Parents Council for Clean Television or something like that, where these guys were running amok all over the FCC reporting system and the complaint system, and just anything and everything that was even mildly offensive was getting fined by the FCC, and leading all the way up to the the Janet Jackson case, where fines, I think, doubled and tripled after that. So, the ability that the FCC has to levy fines is ungodly. And that's what everyone is really afraid of at the end of the day. That's what Comcast is afraid of. That's what AT&T is afraid of. They just don't want to get levied with fines.
Yeah. To go along with that, though, the deal that I understood it to be, anyway, was that the FTC would monitor the ISP's transparency with their customers and police it that way.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It's not that they were protecting you from getting throttled. They were making sure that the customer knew what they were signing up for.
That sounds about right. That definitely sounds about right. I mean, and again, is anyone really that surprised? Is anyone really that surprised?
Well, no, they've been trying to do it for years.
Well, exactly, and that was the writing on the wall that I had read. The last time that net neutrality was even up for debate, is I was like, shit, this is going to go down eventually. Comcast and traditional media has the ability to lobby, has enough money to lobby. NBC Universal could be at this thing for fucking decades. And eventually, in some form or fashion, whether it's, HIPAA or SOPA or whatever it is, something is going to go down that is going to limit the ability for creative people to continue to create things on the internet. And that's when I had said, okay, we've got to be serious about trying to figure out our way into traditional media, hence a radio show. And this is why I end up feeling kind of bad for a lot of these YouTube creators and Twitch creators that are, 10 years behind the curve that we had, that they are just now figuring this shit out. And they're going to go poor. They're going to lose and spend a lot of their money that they've made for the last 2 to 5 years. And, everything's going to change underneath them, and they're not going to have a fucking plan. You know what I mean? Like, I even said this on Twitter, man. A lot of the people who I talk to in the podcasting world and in the Twitch world called me absolutely fucking crazy for pursuing a on-air radio show.
Through podcasting, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Over podcasting or over running a full-time Twitch stream. They were like, man, you're leaving so much money on the table. Dude.
That may be because...
But
in the long term...
But long term, man, you got to think about the way things are going long term.
So unless those Twitch and YouTube guys were, investing all that money, which I don't think a whole lot of them probably were.
No, because they assume... They did the thing that everyone does.
It's an endless fountain.
Where they look at, I made, $46,000 this year. Clearly next year I'm going to make $55,000. This train is always going up. And what is nice about the internet and the creative ability of the internet is that you're able to succeed or fail on your face. You can be like Dr. Disrespect and have a great year and then take a year off if you want. You know what I mean? And it's on you whether or not you still have an audience there. We did that with 11 to 14 LBR. You know what I mean? You don't get those same opportunities in mainstream major media, and the margins are much different. But again, when you talk about long term, when you talk about viability, Twitch, although it's a cool medium and there's a lot of potential there, it's not radio broadcasting. You know what I mean? Radio broadcasting has been around longer than all of us. It will continue to be around longer than any of us. And to not, to kind of limit yourself and to go, I used to want to be on the radio, but now I'm doing this whole Twitch thing. I mean, fine, but know that that's what you're doing and know what the pitfalls are and that you're not in fucking control of it. That's just like in radio, dude. We're not in fucking control of everything. We have to answer to people. We have 43 different PDs that we answer to across the fucking country. People freak out when they have one set of PDs. Oh. When they just have one PD. They just have one. We have 43 of them that we've got to keep happy.
And counting.
That's right. But again, I feel like if you knew where the discussion about media was heading, that, a lot of you who have been out there are earning money on Twitch and through YouTube would have taken this upon yourself to try to, move that in a direction that is not just trying to grow your own fucking brand. Dr. Disrespect is brilliant and can walk away from the character if for no other reason than his primary source of income is not the Twitch channel anymore. It's those spots that he's been doing for the fucking microwave dinners.
Oh,
I'm sure.
Was that him?
That's him. I've seen the spots, man. The spots are funny.
Good for him.
I kind of want to check out those meals too. I'm not gonna lie. They look pretty. They look mad decent.
You don't have high bars though.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I ate 4 Hot Pockets yesterday.
Oh my god.
What?
Pepperoni?
2 of them were pepperoni.
Ham and cheese, the other ones?
No, sausage and meatball.
Oh.
Or sausage and mozzarella, that's what it was. Meatball and mozzarella.
No, if you want to know, like seriously, how brave it is when it comes to food, he had me and Jux to pick him up some Taco Bell, and I quote, "I don't have a normal order. Get me whatever."
I don't go to fast food. I don't do fast food.
And he was willing to take anything we brought him from Taco Bell.
Yeah, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Either that or I'll throw it away. Either way.
One of the two.
Yeah. Shane, man, thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Did you have any other points on net neutrality that you wanted to get out before we let you go?
Yeah, just one last thing. I'm glad that you were talking about long term, because so tinfoil hat time. I've got my own little theory on that. Where we are now, you could metaphorically associate it to gaming proper.
Okay.
Right now, the ISPs have Netflix to deal with, they have Google to deal with, they have all of this data going through their lines, and moving data is expensive.
Right.
You know what's good for paying intermittent expenses? Microtransactions.
Oh, you think that they're going to microtrans out, like uploading a file?
I don't know about uploading, but if someone wants faster Netflix this day, they're going to be like, hey, I'm going to spend 50 cents. Y'all hotfix this into my house. Why not?
Okay, I can kind of see a direction that he's going in. The argument that we have with microtrans used to be about DLC. We don't have them anymore because DLC is accepted. So like you said, they're not just going to give us the a la carte overnight.
Right.
But 3, 4, 5 years from now, when we're okay paying what we pay for it, yeah, maybe you could pay the $1.99 a month for a faster Facebook or the $5.99 for Express Facebook.
Right.
Or what he's even talking about, like if you want to download a game, okay, Comcast, I'm going to buy your $1 for today only. I'll get 50 megabytes a second. Download that game in 3 minutes. I'll pay that $1.
But
what's $1?
Listen, hang on. But on the other side of that argument, though, when you're talking about a console like the Xbox One X that has 4K HD games that don't come printed on the disc that you've got to download 160 gigs of, doesn't it kind of become a little bit more understandable how ISPs look at data and see the intrinsic value, whereas we have kind of taken that for granted, right? 160 gigs is a lot. That's excessive no matter which way you slice it. And I think that, for them as a company to go, listen, we've got to rein this in somehow, and look at major companies out there that are making decisions like 160 gigs is a good size amount for a game. You know what I mean? It does seem kind of insane, and it seems it is at least a little bit easier to understand why these companies would be pursuing something like this.
Because they can make bank off it.
Well, not just because they can make bank off of it, because if you're responsible for having to move 160 gigs of anything, you know what I mean? That's fucking a lot. That's a lot. So, anyway, Shane, thanks for the call. We appreciate it. We've got just about 5 minutes left in the program. So if you want to get your 2 cents in on the net neutrality conversation, final encounter cast on Skype, 810-207-1764. And again, I've been talking about net neutrality for a long time. There would have been no way that Limit Break Radio would have gotten off the ground if it wasn't for something like net neutrality. But at the same time, though, I do think it is hard for me to have a bunch of sympathy to people who are sitting around on Twitch or sitting around on YouTube and making a whole lot of money and then crying when something like the algorithm changes, or crying when, Twitch does something to democratize the platform to allow Twitch as a company to make more money, but it hurts your bottom line, so that's why they shouldn't do it. Those kind of arguments drive me fucking up the wall.
That's fair. That's 100% fair.
I hate those types of arguments because there is a certain level of personal responsibility that comes along with this. And that's something that people didn't want to accept when they first signed up for, like, hey, I'm going to do Twitch streaming. Well, guess what? If you're going to make money at it, it's going to need to be a job, and you're going to need to think about how to continue and make it successful long term. How do you do that? Well, don't sit around and promise the Final Fantasy XIV community that you're going to be making content for the entirety of the game.
Till the servers die.
Again, we did that with FF11, and if we had made good on that promise, we would still have to make a Final Fantasy XI show.
Forget you guys. I'd have ended it. As in, like, myself.
None of us would have been able to do it. None of us would have been able to do it. And no one can. So making insane promises like that, again, I'm glad that we started in 2006 and, didn't try to make it a full-time job for any of us or really even look at it as a company because, A, we weren't mature enough to be able to navigate those waters. B, we weren't putting together a product good enough to warrant it, to warrant the investment from our fans, and 3, we needed to make those mistakes in a way that didn't ruin people's financial investment or stake in it or our ability for people to trust us. Because that's really when you're running your own show or your own brand, that's what's really at stake, is at the end of it, that if something goes wrong, that people look at you as a fraud.
Oh, God. If your reputation gets ruined, doesn't matter how much talent you have or how much promise you have behind you. In certain industries, if you fail, they look at you and go, all right, that didn't work. Since literally everyone is scraping to get this opportunity, let's go with someone who hasn't proven themselves a failure.
I mean, dude, there are people who give Limit Break Radio praise just by sheer fact that we're still doing a weekly show. They're like, dude, all of the other content creators have sort of packed it in. And we understand why.
Yeah.
We get why.
I don't hate them at all.
No, I don't.
It might be a little bit of envy there.
But at the same time, we already knew that. We knew that going into that. Mm-hmm. And whatever these guys end up moving on to, whether it's another game, whether it's a different stream, whether it's a different premise, whether it's a different concept, they'll understand it this time. So, anyway. All right. I think that's it.
All right.
We ran the full time. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out for the show, talking net neutrality. Shout out to Shane. Appreciate the phone call. If you want to call into the show, because that is a central tenet of this show, you can do that. Add Final Encountercast on Skype, 810-207-1764. Program that into your phone. And
speed dial.
That's right. Anytime that we're live with Final Encountercast, which will become the Let's Be Real podcast after 8 more episodes.
Starting the countdown.
Yes. Then definitely make sure you save that and set that aside. That's going to be it for today's episode of Final Encountercast. Stick around. Coming up next, we've got the Checkpoint Radio podcast at 3, followed by Limit Break Radio, of course, at 4 o'clock. And then following Limit Break Radio, we'll have the most recent episode of Checkpoint Radio. And by the way, I've got to say, this most recent episode was a great episode, so you're going to want to stick around for that. I want to thank my crew, of course, Nika, Robbie, Eater of Foods, Fat. You like your name today, Eater of Foods? It was going to be Eater of Worlds, but I just changed it to Foods.
I like it because it's actually a Hearthstone reference, so props.
There we go. My name's Nate. Keep listening. Final Encountercast is a production of FinalEncountercast.com, Limit Break Radio, and Bender Media Productions. Today's episode was produced by Nate Bender, Callie Sloan, and Kooky Persona. This show is made possible by the generous Patreon donors of the podcast Limit Break Radio. Opening music provided by Keyboard Kid. More info and music can be found at keyboardkid206.bandcamp.com. Closing music provided by Sobsy. For more info, visit sobsy.bandcamp.com. Final Encountercast and its hosts are solely responsible for its content.